Unfortunately, they don't have
what was this? Oh boy.
Oh, what happened?
Barnes & Noble has ever had in New York, and we're very happy to have you all with us this evening. So thank you, thank all of the authors for being here. It's really a pleasure to have you. Leading our program tonight is Paul Levinson, who is the president of Science Fiction Writers of America. He is also the author of the award-winning book, The Silk Code. Please join me in welcoming Paul Levinson.
Thank you, Amanda, and it's great to see all of you here. You know, I was thinking today as I was coming down to this event, when was the first time in my life I ever had an interaction with an authority about science fiction? And I remember in 1959 coming into my home room in junior high school one morning, and there was an ominous note waiting for me. It was from the school librarian. Her name was Mrs. Dason, I still remember her name, and simply said, Paul, please come down and see me. I have a serious concern I want to talk to you about. So I went down there, and she was sitting in her office, and she looked at me very gravely and said, Paul, there's something very wrong with the way you've been using the library. I sort of, remember a voice sounding like the Agent Smith character in The Matrix. Get the same kind of feeling. So I said to her, yes. And she said, pulling out a sheet, well, you've been here a few months, and it seems you've only been reading one kind of book. I said, yes. And she said, well, and it's science fiction. And I said, yes, because I thought that was good. And then she came forth with this really stunning metaphor that stayed with me all these years. She said, reading is a lot like eating. And if all you do is eat the same thing, you'll get sick. And I'm concerned that, all you do is keep reading science fiction, you'll get mentally ill. And I thought, well, it's way too late for me already. That's probably why I started reading science fiction in the first place. But actually, the story had a happy ending. She forbade me to use the library unless I started reading other kinds of fiction. And instead of going back to the junior high school library, I discovered my local New York Public Library. And I remember the day that I first walked in there and I saw the science fiction section. And I looked up and I saw these books on the shelves, beginning with Asimov, this was 1959, and ending with A.E. Van Vogt. And it reminds me of what I see here today. We have over 85 science fiction authors, ranging from Roger Allen Frye and Catherine Sarlo to George Dabrowski and Sarah Zettel, literally A to Z, and all kinds of exciting people in between. Some of the people are sitting on the sides, as you can see, and these people have actually a very special place of honor this weekend, which is our organization's annual Nebula Weekend. Our organization is the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. We were founded in 1965, just 6 years after my interaction with Mrs. Dacey, sure there was no cause and effect. And our organization is designed to further the public's awareness and the general well-being and interest in science fiction and fantasy. And towards that end, every year we give out a series of awards called the Nebula Awards. And the awards are given for short stories, longer stories, novels, this year for dramatic scripts as well. And sitting on either side of you are 18 people, most of which are nominees for Nebula Awards this year. There are a few people who are not nominees, and the reason that they're sitting there is they're what we call SFWA honorees. I mean, as writers, we come up with these names for everything. And one is, for example, Brian Aldiss, who this year is our Grand Master, a very special award. And George Zabrowski and Pamela Sargent are recipients of this year's Service to SIFLA Award. And all of these writers have their books that they'd be glad to sign for you. And in the back, there are another 70 writers from A to Z who are also members of our organization, and they have books to sign for you as well. But we thought we would sort of start this signing off by giving each of our nominees and honorees a chance to read for 1 to 2 minutes, which is a tall order for a writer, from something that they want to read to you. And in many cases, it might not even be what their nominated work is. It could just be a special work, something that they found of interest. Our first author, who will read to you tonight, is a nominee for the Best Short Story, Flower Kiss, that was published in the magazine.
Hi everybody, it's nice to see you. This is the happy ending to Flower Kiss, which is a contemporary West African fairy tale that concerned female genital mutilation. But yes, there is a happy ending. It's set in the region of what used to be called the Slave Coast. The Portuguese word beija-flor appears in this brief selection, and it means flower kiss, which is how you say hummingbird in Portuguese. And it is the name of Oyade's house, a legacy of her ancestors out of their days as providers of slaves to Brazil. At the signal of the drums, Oyade led her friends out to the center of the market ground, right in front of the judge's pavilion. Fodune lay in her most...
Paul told me to keep this short. I have here a 60-word complete story, which will be appearing in the July-August double issue of Analog this year. I'd like to thank Analog for their permission for me to read this story. To remind you all, this magazine will be available for purchase next month. If Ben Franklin had gotten his way, from the transcript of the first moon landing, July 20th, 1969, one universe over. Aldrin, looking good down and a half, 30 feet down 2.5, kicking up some dust, drifting to the right. Okay, engine stop. Armstrong. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The turkey has landed.
I'm going to read a few verses from it. Parable of the Talents is the near-future story of one woman's obsessive struggle to spread her belief system, her religion, and to kind of use it to get us out of the chaos into which we've descended, into which we so often seem to be descending. I'm going to read you a few verses from the religion that she begins. It's called Earthseed. The first is the most important. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Then there's one of her descriptions of Earthseed that tells you a little bit more about it. Earthseed is adulthood. It's trying our wings, leaving our mother, becoming men and women. We've been children, fighting for the full breath, the protective embrace, the soft lap. Children do this. But Earthseed is adulthood. Adulthood is both sweet and sad. It terrifies. It empowers. We are men and women now. We are Earthseed. And the destiny of Earthseed is to take root among the stars. This is the goal that my character has set for people, for humanity. And finally, God is change. And in the end, God prevails. But meanwhile, kindness eases change. Love quiets fear. And a sweet and powerful, positive obsession blunts pain, diverts rage, and engages each of us in the greatest and the most intense of our chosen struggles. Thank you.
Next, we have two for the price of one, two authors who collaborated on a nominee for Best Novella entitled The Astronaut from Wyoming, published in Analog. One of these authors, Jerry Olchin, is also a previous Nebula winner. So I'll invite both of them up to the stage. I don't know how they're going to get up here, piggyback or something like that. Adam Troy Castro and Jerry Olchin.
Very nefariously decided to pull our time. To understand Alexander, you must first understand his time. There was an age when the universe had been opened for us. We knew how to look at objects 1,000 light years away and map the molecules that gave them form. We knew how things were put together and how they could be taken apart. We knew how the universe began and how it was likely to end. We knew how to reason and how to discover and how to add new pages to our increasing store of information. It was also an age when ignorance was enshrined over knowledge. Every local newspaper contained a horoscope. World leaders consulted astrologers, psychic hotlines made millions, and a United States senator gained 10 points in the polls by claiming to have been in contact with ancient Aztecs. We knew what comets were, where they came from, and what they didn't foretell. But a compound filled with intelligent, college-educated people took poison because they believed that a comet called Hail Bob would take them to heaven if they did. In Alexander's age, we had knowledge and we had delusion, and we preferred the delusion. You cannot understand Alexander Dreyer's life without understanding that. You cannot understand his final gesture without understanding that. Of course, Alexander's time is still our time, which is why some of you are most interested in reading about a high-ranking government cover-up of alien experiments on pregnant human women. I can't help what you want. I knew that going in. That's not what happened.
Now I'm going to read about Alexander himself. Alexander wasn't deformed, at least not in the sense that I'm deformed. He had two of everything he needed two of, and one of everything he needed one of, and it was all functional. It all worked. He was even beautiful, in the sense that all healthy babies are beautiful, but his head was unusually large. It mushroomed above the temples, bulging up and out like a sack stuffed with more than it was designed to hold. The doctors had feared water on the brain, but it just happened to be the shape of the kid's head. The only problem it caused was in delivery, and that had been handled by the cesarean. His eyes were about 3 times larger proportionally than the norm for a baby of that size. and they were all black, with no white showing at all. His nose, as if to compensate, was unusually small, little more than a nostril wrinkle in the center of his face. His mouth was a slit with thin, pursed lips. His ears were little round buds with holes. His hands were odd, too. There were 5 fingers and a thumb on each, with the fingers all disproportionately long. Still, that by itself wasn't the problem. The problem was that everybody in America had already seen that face. They'd seen it staring at them from movie posters, from best-selling books, from artist renditions on the covers of supermarket tabloids. It was a face so frequently depicted in the mass media that even people who refused to subscribe recognized it as a well-known inhabitant of our shared popular culture.
And I am going to be reading from that an excerpt. I have just one very, very brief introductory comment, which is, this is set in a small Vermont town, Bowman's Ridge, where the population is divided between natives and transients. I'm still just a transient. That's how the natives would have it anyway. On the other hand, at least I'm a transient they can trust. Or perhaps the word I want is tolerate. Just as long as I don't bring up the unfortunate subject of how I earn my living, everything is roses. You see, and here I ought to turn my face aside and drop my voice to the requisite hoarse whisper reserved for all such disgraceful confessions. Right. Unclean! Unclean! Someone get a firm hold of
In the Forever War, there was a war between human beings and Taurans. And Taurans were really ugly creatures who had lots of fingers and worms growing out of their eyes, and their brain is in their neck. In Forever Free, the sequel, Taurans are sort of, along with humans, in a starship going out, God knows where. And my hero, William Mandela, is sitting in an office trying to get some stuff together about movies and gymnasiums and such. And in walks the Tauran, the one Tauran. It made an agitated little dance. A human has tried to kill me. Good God, I stood up. Who is it? He is the one called Charlton. Cal, of course. Okay, I'll get the sheriff and we'll go find him. He is in my quarters, dead. You killed him? Of course, wouldn't you? I called Mary Gay and the sheriff and told them to come down immediately. Were there any witnesses? No, he was alone. He said he wanted to talk to me. Well, the ship will have seen it. It bobbed its head. To my knowledge, the ship does not monitor my quarters. I kissed for the ship and asked him. That's correct. The TARDIS quarters were improvised out of storage. I was not designed to monitor storage. Did you see Cal Charlton headed in that direction recently? Charlton got on the lift at 11:32 and went down to the storage level. Was he armed? I could not tell. He tried to kill me with an axe, the Tauran said. I heard glass break, and he came running in. He got the axe from the fire station outside my quarters. Ship, can you confirm that? No. If he had pulled the fire alarm, I would have known that. Well, that was an interesting fact. So you took the axe away from him? Oh, it was simple. I heard the glass break and correctly interpreted that. I stepped behind the door. He never saw me. So you killed him with the axe? Not actually. I believe I broke his neck. It demonstrated with a convincing karate-like stroke. Well, it could be worse. Then, to be sure, I took the axe and severed his head. It made a gesture like a shrug. That's where the brain is.
Thank you. I'm just going to read a very short passage, which is partly brought to mind by my recent travel from Scotland. It's from chapter 9 of the book, which is called In the Spirit of Wales, A Modern Utopia. Airports are quiet places where people make their leisurely way along covered walkways to the waiting craft. Around the sides of the concourse are tables with drinks and snacks, open sided stores of the kind of supplies you might need and are likely to forget, racks and shelves where you can browse, And if you like, take away a book or journal or disc. There's a net. The only barrier to understanding is sometimes you help them with their luggage. Settling a long way through your flight, you might feel like drawing yourself making sure that there's more right hands to get through life.
Published in Asimov's science fiction magazine. David Marison.
How's it going? The wedding album is a descent into hell, and this is how it begins. Anne and Benjamin stood stock still, as instructed, close but not touching, while the sonographer adjusted her apparatus, set its timer, and ducked out of the room. It would only take a moment, she said. They were to think only happy, happy thoughts. For once in her life, Anne was unconditionally happy, and everything around her made her happier. Her gown, which had been her grandmother's, the wedding ring, how cold it had felt when Benjamin first slipped it on her finger, her clutch bouquet of forget-me-nots and buttercups, Benjamin himself close beside her in his charcoal gray tux and pink carnation, he who so despised ritual but was a good sport. His cheeks were pink too, and his eyes sparkled with some wolfish fantasy. "Come here," he whispered, and shushed her. You weren't supposed to talk or touch during a casting. It could spoil the Sims. "I can't wait," he whispered. "This is taking too long." And it did seem longer than usual, but this was a professional simulacrum, not...
I read this story last year during opening ceremonies on the floor of the Oregon House of Representatives. I mention that now partly because I'd like to have a gavel. The Lobbyist's Tale. After my favorite bill died in committee, I went to the conference room to view the body. A dead bill weighs next to nothing. I cradled the downy corpse in my arms, thinking of what might have been. Then I hid the dead bill inside my coat and took it home. In my basement, by the means of arts I dare not describe, I restored my beloved bill to life. When it first regarded me with its reanimated yellow eye, I felt a little thrill of joy. In the days that followed, I fed the bill and kept it warm. As it grew, I eagerly watched its metamorphosis. The white down gave way to a shiny golden coat. It grew 4 sturdy legs. I brushed it every day, first with a hairbrush, then later with a garden rake. I had never, in all my years of lobbying, seen a bigger, healthier, more beautiful law. My plan was to sneak the law back to the Capitol and into the herd of other laws before they were driven to the governor's mansion to be branded. But I was worried. Would the others regard it with suspicion? Raised in my basement, my law would not smell like them. If they shied away in its approach, surely someone would notice. So I delayed. Foolishly, I waited. One morning, on my way downstairs to feed my law, I saw that a basement window was broken. I feared the worst. Sure enough, there was an agency in my basement, twining its 6 legs around the law's 4, humming seductively. They had already been at it, if you know what I mean. Eggshells littered the floor and hatchlings scampered this way and that, out through the broken window to do who knows what mischief. And that's how it is. Oh, I tried separating them, locking the agency in the attic and keeping the law downstairs. The law bellows for the agency until the windows shake, and the agency keens with a shrill voice that is bound to summon the neighbors. So I keep them both in the basement and do what I can to keep their little progeny locked inside too. But they are sneaky little things, these hatchlings. Their broken windows stick out. They can jimmy the locks. There's really no stopping them. My neighbors call exterminator after exterminator, and since they don't ever see an exterminator at my house, they've grown suspicious. All these little regulations, they say, with a meaningful look. They must be coming from us.
This passage is from my 1999 story, Hillary Orbits Venus, which was inspired by the fact that the 15-year-old Hillary Rodham actually wrote to NASA asking how to prepare for becoming an astronaut. Hillary Orbits Venus assumes that our state's senatorial candidates follow the astronaut trajectory instead. Here, Hillary listens as a mission specialist on her all-female crew briefs the press. Victoria went on, now about 10% of the Venusian surface is this terrain we call tesserae, these bizarre, rugged, deformed-looking expanses of really wrinkled land, and they're the oldest places on the surface of Venus. It's like the rest of the planet got flooded by lava from volcanoes, and the tesserae are islands. So here's what I want to know. Did the whole surface look like that once, all deformed by tectonic activity, or is it just that the tesserae are so old that they're like all cracked and wrinkled from age? As wrinkled as some old hag who spent too much time at the beach, Hillary thought, remembering another crack she had overheard among the geologists. Volcanoes erupting from time to time, atmospheric pressure so intense on the Venusian surface.
At this point, in Good Intentions, some human explorers are in the middle of a conversation with artificial intelligence, which they've accidentally reactivated, which seems to be the last survivor of an ancient Martian civilization that originated somewhere else. You, said Brian, are able to tell us their whole history, right? Yes. Not only here, but on the home world. I do not have all that in my memory, but I can make it available. How? It is stored in the ships. Murray's face clouded. The ships, he said. The vehicles they used to cross the stars. Yes. What kind of vehicles? Asked Eddie. How fast were they? They traveled at multiples of light speed. My God, said Judy, you can give us FTL. There is little that the people did not understand about the mechanics of the universe. That which is allowed, they were capable of performing. I suspect you do not have anti-gravity? No. Temporal manipulation? Probably not. Quantum power? Not to speak of. But you can make all this available to us? If you wish. You might want to consider whether you have the wisdom to control the capabilities I can provide. Where are the ships? Asked Abu. In the asteroid belt. I will give you their location if you will do something for me. I thought, said Judy, there'd be something. Murray looked puzzled. What could you possibly want from us? I've been here a long time.
Story about words, literally. I must reprint it. All the word suite. The words on the floor were as thick as thieves when Felix came into the party. By 11, the room should have been silent. Quiet! He shouted, unable to hold back. This just fell into my hand. The word formed in the air and floated to the floor at his feet. A deaf couple in the corner continued talking with their hands. Everyone was looking at him, and he felt his stomach tighten. He should have motioned for silence instead of speaking. A small woman with large brown eyes came up to him and handed him a drink. He sipped vodka. It was her way of saying, yeah, we know you've got a lousy job policing the yak ration. Pooping parties for a living can't be fun. You poor bastard, we know. Heads nodded to show approval of the woman's gesture.
This passage is from the story Basil the Dog. Would the people that are in the back talking kindly be a little more quiet? All of a sudden, he felt himself fall. The wind rushed in his ears like the end of the world. He grabbed air. He kicked air. He wanted to scream, help. His mouth opened. Hail Mary, full of grace. Thud, landed on something. Seconds, minutes, hours, whole days. A ray of light had touched his face. I am in heaven, he thought, and a trio, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, peered down curiously at him. But the Father was none other than his mother, her face drawn together like a rooting rodent, the agouti. And
Hi, don't laugh. In 2 minutes' time, I haven't got time to read you my whole autobiography here, which you can easily obtain from the bookstore. But I thought I'd read you a bit of the jacket instead. It says, versatile, prolific, and outspoken, all this writes revealingly on many issues and experiences, from literary inspiration to childhood illness, and mental breakdown, with critical attitudes towards science fiction. But when faced with only 2 minutes to read in a noisy room, he is dumbstruck. Almost. What can usefully be said, or even thought, with time so short? I'd rather lock my words within my head. Silence is golden, I was taught. So, Barnes and Noble, thanks for your support. I'm grateful to you both, and glad I came. And this I'll say as last resort. I'm Brian August. Don't forget the name.
Free, somewhere in the back there, so please help yourself. For those of you in the organization, I want to let you know there's a screening of The Invisible Man. That's a new series that Sci-Fi Channel will be airing in the fall. And that will be shown back at the hotel at 10 o'clock. The rest of you, don't worry, I assume it'll be on television this coming fall. Thanks again.
Thank you all for being here tonight. If you would like to have books signed, the readers are on the sides here, so the author's last name is
Yes, Frances Sherwood. She came from this They not only founded the organization, they also disbanded it. Thank you, Mr. Holden. Thanks a lot.
Oh, someone wants to. Well, the last one
Sometimes it is. We are seeing, be very quiet, we can see this rare species moving in the underbrush.
I don't know what this is for.
I don't know what this is for either.
Yes?
Joshua's wife. What's your last name? Jeff, what's your last name?
like well, it's members of the BSFA and the fan and you would be running.
Just paid for like by
Where's this autograph at?
Well, I'm doing it right next to my story. So why don't I autograph this one to you? This is the 19th, 2000.
How about yeah, she read it. Take a look at your copy of the book.
Here you go, Sam.
What is? Hang on.
Yes.
Bring your wife. Well, yes. You're a local, aren't you?
Nice help.
Yes, we do. I wasn't going to call her full time. Now let me see. I'm trying to think. I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Let me say tentatively.
Yeah, but I wasn't finished with everyone back here.
If you would give me your address, I could send you a copy of my next book. Would you like that? I will do it.
We'll fill it up. There's three of us in the back.
Never looking for a book.
So Pam and Jim Gunn at least.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah.